Let's bring in Anthony McCarron now for some bold predictions. So Anthony currently has a column on SNY.TV of his 10 boldest predictions for the 2025 MLB offseason. Anthony, what's one of your bold predictions for the Mets offseason?
Well, Michelle, this one is kind of a wrinkle, and I'm trafficking in bold here, so let's be clear that this is something that may or may not happen. But I predicted that they would sign Bo Bichette from the Blue Jays to play second base. He's a shortstop by trade, but I don't think that defensively he can handle that position anymore. Mets obviously have their own shortstop in Francisco Lindor, but I like the offensive profile for the Mets with Bichette. He had a really good year in 2025, back to his 300 hitting self. He gets a lot of hits. This is a guy who can move guys around the bases and do a lot of good things offensively. And look, the Mets, this has been a topic of conversation going into this offseason. They could use a bit of a core shakeup, and this would necessitate them moving on from Jeff McNeil at second base, installing Bichette, assuming that he is willing to move positions, which I think he would be, to come to a team with a big chance like the Mets to be really good. And I just feel like that they need a little bit of a splash after kind of a dull and bad year last year, the Mets, and I think Bichette would give them that splash in the position player arena, and so that's why I like it. I know a lot of people don't agree, Michelle, or so I've heard, but this one, this one is a nice splash for me.
Well, it's certainly creative, but yeah, offensively, the production at second base last year, I believe 237 batting average, Bo Bichette, 311 at shortstop, but still offensively at the plate. What's another Mets bold prediction for you?
Well, it's been the big story of the offseason, but I do believe they are going to complete a trade for Tarik Skubal. It's going to hurt, though, Met fans, so all you prospect huggers, get your handkerchiefs out, because this is going to be a big deal here. I think the Mets will balk at Nolan McLean, and he will not be in the package, but it's going to be 4 pretty big-name Met prospects that go to get 1 year of Tarik Skubal from the Detroit Tigers, but they'll have their ace, they'll have their Game 1 starter, should they, and they better make the playoffs next year, Michelle. But Brandon Sproat, Jet Williams, guys like that are going to be in the mix to go to Detroit in my bold predictions. Bold, crazy, whatever you want to call it, but I'm going with the Mets get Skubal. They're perfectly positioned with the prospects, and they're perfectly positioned because I think Skubal, with 1 year left on his deal in Detroit, I think they're going to have to move on from him because he's not going to sign a long-term contract with them. Then they got to get to work signing him in Queens to a long-term contract.
Yeah. I don't think that one's as bold as your first one, but I don't think anyone's going to complain about getting Skubal. Okay, so let's switch it up now for High Five. Give us your top 5 under-the-radar free agents that the Mets should target. Well,
Michelle, we spent so much time in the beginning of the offseason talking about the big names. Kyle Tucker, Cody Bellinger, they're not on this list here. Let's start out with, you're going to hear a lot of relief pitcher names here because the Mets have to rebuild their bullpen, right? So we'll start off with Michael Kopech here. He's been oft injured, but I like him as a buy low candidate here. We are talking about under-the-radar guys, so, it's not somebody who's jumping off the page. This isn't the Edwin Diaz equivalent, but he's somebody who could profile as a nice back end of the bullpen arm, and that goes to, we go to number 4 now, Raisel Iglesias. You take him away from he's been the Braves closer for a couple of years now, but he would be another nice addition of a big arm at the back end of that bullpen. He had a bad start last year to the season, Michelle, and since he's going to be 36 next year, everybody's like, well, what's going to happen here with this guy? He had a 1.25 ERA in his last 45 appearances, so he got it together. He probably will take a short-term deal, too, which could be attractive to the Mets as they try to win next year. And third on my list, kind of a local guy, Fordham, Nick Martinez, and I'm picking him because he's a versatile pitcher. He can start, he can relieve. He actually had a really good run of relief appearances with the Reds last year, 14 times out of the pen, 2.61 ERA. He's got starting experience. If you'll recall last year when things were imploding pitching-wise, Michelle, for the Mets, they could have used a guy who could jump into the rotation quick and then jump back to the bullpen there. So you could make him exclusively a reliever, or he could be a guy who could do that. Now we're moving on to more elite relief arms. Brad Keller had an incredible year for the Cubs. He was a starter early in his career in Kansas City, and he sort of morphed into this bullpen monster. He was probably the Cubs' best reliever last year. A tremendous 2.07 ERA in 68 games. Hitters batted 182 against him, Michelle. They need a leader. lead arms the Mets in the back of that bullpen. Is Diaz coming back? Is he not coming back? We'll see. But they need to fill up some slots there. And finally, I'm going to another old friend here, to Harrison Bader. Look, run prevention was basically the theme of David Stern's postseason press conference. I know I didn't exactly dig into that with the Bo Bichette bold prediction, but I'm digging into it now. And Harrison Bader is a sensational outfielder. The Mets need a lot of defensive help in center field. And, Michelle, he had a career-high 17 homers last year and a very respectable, almost 800 OPS, 796, which was 17% better than league average. So he has a little bit more of an offensive profile, maybe, than he's had in the past, and that's why I like him as a nice under-the-radar signing. Could solve the Mets' center field problems if they don't go another route there.